Alright guys, we're working with this real life example about a warehouse accident that happens and some items being damaged. And so what we need to do is figure out how many items are left undamaged. And so after doing a count, we've been given all of this information, 5 bullet points that detail how many things are undamaged and how many things are damaged. And the key to this question is this guide right here, because it tells us how many cases and items are held by every pallet of goods. So, for example, in the first bullet point, it tells us that we've got 13 full undamaged pallets. So I'm going to start with number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and start opening up parentheses. Now, every time I open a parentheses, that's going to represent another bullet point where I've tried to write an expression that shows the total. So I'm going to start with the number 13. Okay, and then in my guide, it tells us that every pallet holds 25 cases. So I have 13 pallets. So I'll multiply that by 25 so I see how many cases are in that pallet. But then, remember, we're focusing on items. So in order to convert this to the number of items, I need to see that every case is equal to 96 items. So I'm going to do one more multiplication, and I'm going to put the number 96. And that's my first bullet point. So this is giving me the number of items in that first 13 pallets. Now, let's move on to another one. Number 2 says we've got 2 full undamaged cases of items. So let me see if I can put my okay. So we've got 2 times, so these are cases and I want items, so I'm going to multiply that by 96. There's my second bullet point. Here's number 3. 1 damaged case with 13 broken items. So in that case, it started with 96 items, but then 3 of them were broken, so we've got to remove those. So I'll use a subtraction to represent me removing the broken items. Okay, now number 4. 2 damaged cases, each with 16 broken items. So let's represent one of those cases. It's 96 items with 16 broken, so it's minus 16, and that happens for 2 cases. So I'm using the number outside of the parentheses to represent a multiplication. And we know that with order of operations, I'm going to multiply after I do this subtraction. So now number 5 is the last one. It's going to look very similar to number 4. It's 96, right? Because we start with 96 items, 12 of them get broken, and that happens to 4 cases. Alright, so we've got 5 little mini expressions that we're going to combine to find the total number of undamaged items. Alright, so we're going to use addition with all of these things. I'll start it down here. So, we've got 13 times 25 times 96 plus 2 times 96 plus 96 minus 3. And remember, my strategy was to go bullet by bullet and find the undamaged items in every single bullet point. Oh, I need to get my eraser here. So, plus 2 times 96 minus 16 plus 4 times 96 minus 12. So there's the expression written out totally. So this is the first way that you can go ahead and try to solve this. Miss G is going to go over another way that starts with the total number of items in general and then subtracts the broken items, which I think is another really good way to think about the problem. But if you like this way, very straightforward, going through every bullet point, then you can go ahead and try to solve this expression and get your answer. And then maybe watch Miss G's video anyway to see that she gets a totally different expression, but the answer is going to come out exactly the same. Alright guys, talk to you guys soon.